Here's another request that came from the comments section. Says, I'm starting my first oil paint class and was curious about how you set up your palette colors. I know that there are years of dried colors underneath. Is there a benefit for building up a dried layer like this? How much fresh color do you typically add? And and is it easy to tell where the fresh paint stops and the dried begins? That get more questions about that buildup on my palette, I guess, than anything else. But I want to add something else to it. In quick tip 115, I show how I set up the palette, how I set up the colors of the palette, or how I arrange the colors of the palette, which is according to the color wheel, which I've been doing for so long I don't remember when I started it. But the important thing is, I do want to answer the other questions too. The important thing is not just how I set it up, but then how I use it. Now she asked how, I guess it's she asked about was there any benefit for allowing the color to build up? The benefit is for me, because for me, having all the colors that I use, or all the colors that I use most often, I should say, having those available to me is like having a complete orchestra available, and being able to just have them in my environment while I'm working kind of stimulates the whole process of painting. And so that's the main reason I keep those colors. It started, of course, I think I tell that in quick tip 115, I'm not sure. It started, of course, with just putting the colors out like we normally do it on a palette. There's always paint left. If that paint is not going to be used anymore, why just throw it away when I can let it build up and create this nice little visual orchestra of colors that I use. So, and it does build up, and eventually you have to cut it down, and because of eventually it would take up the whole palette. It's very, very easy to tell the difference between the wet paint and the dry paint. You just tell by the feel of it, because the wet paint you're going to be able to pick up the wet paint with your palette knife or brush, and not the dry paint. Now, from session to session, there might be paint that already has a film over it, and in order to keep that from interfering from getting that film in the paint itself, I usually will take my painting knife and just scrape that away before I put the fresh paint out. So that answers that. But the real thing I want to share with you is what I do with this in my painting. I do not put out every color every time I set up for a painting. I put out only the colors that I need. And how do I know the colors I need? I'm going to show you that right now, and then show you how I set the palette up for the painting itself, because that's just as important as how I arrange my colors. I'm going to use this this photo of a boat in water with grass, etc., to show you how I do this. This is how I do it. You may try this, and if it works for you, then why not? You can adapt it. Yeah, I don't have it copyrighted, and it's not so different from what some other artists do. So what do? First of all, I want to know what colors I'm going to need for this. I'm not going to need all the colors on the palette for that. I want to know what colors I need, and the way I find that out is my color wheel. Now, if you've watched our quick tips, you know I am totally devoted to the color wheel. So what I do then is I just spot the major colors I see. I see orange, I see blue, I see yellow, green. And in the areas of this dead straw, that is a very, 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 very low saturated yellow or yellow orange, leaning yellow, leaning sort of yellow towards yellow orange. So those are the local colors. So I will put the color wheel up. I'm just going to put it up. Well, let's see if I can put it about right there so you can see. What I'm looking for is potential. Now, what does potential mean? It means that we have the ability to create these colors and to do everything we see those colors doing. We want the potential for creating the full value range. Everything but the blue has the full value range in it, pretty much. We want to create the full value range. We want to be able to control the saturation. I've got it listed for you here. For each hue we're going to be, each of these major hues that I've spotted, we need that potential. And so we need the ability, if we need the ability to get a little warmer or a little cooler, we need all of that on our palette before we begin. And here's how I do that. So I start out with the hue, and let's just say, all right, we see the boat is orange. I can tell the boat is orange because I can put the color wheel right beside it. It's really orange. See, really orange, maybe leaning a little bit towards red orange here. So orange is the first color, first hue. Now I don't put them all out at one time. I take one at a time. You'll see one in just a minute. It's one of these miracles of color. So orange, I'm going to need the full value range. I have in my tube collection, I have the Rembrandt Transparent Oxide Red, which is a red-orange. It's a very, very dark transparent red-orange. I've already put it out on the palette, so that's the one I'll start with. Now, what I know about the way orange behaves as it goes into shadow is that orange loses the orange hue, and because as it goes into shadow, there's not enough light to give it the hue. And so it will eventually, depending on the color of light, it eventually will go sort of towards that red-orange. It loses yellow hues first. So knowing that, what I'll do there, and now I set up a value line. I'm going to show you how that works. I set up a value line. And I have, or will have by the time you see this, a free video on the Academy, DianneMizeAcademy.com, that shows the various ways we can set up a value line. But I'm just going to use a value line of 3 values: dark, the darkest dark, the middle, and the light of what I see in each hue. So to get the middle value, I take this transparent oxide red, just a little bit of it, and I'll put it right here. Get some distance between those two. But then I want to now raise that to a middle value of orange. To do so, oh, by the way, I need to put out the red orange. I put out the other colors I'll be using, but the way I do that is I just add it right at the bottom of the pile of colors like this, and then I take my palette knife. As you can see what I've done right here, I'll pull that down just a little bit so it's easy to pick up. So what I'm going to do here to raise this value, I'm going to put some red orange, and the red orange is right here on the wheel. So you see what I'm doing there to raise that value. I'm putting some red orange, and I'm going to put some yellow orange. I don't have a tube orange because I don't need it, because I have this fully saturated red orange and a fully saturated yellow orange. So if I add those two to this transparent oxide red, that will give me a middle value. The middle value, and this is the way I'll do that. Now what I can see here is that where the light is hitting that boat, I'm not so sure we see the true middle value yet. I think we see a lighter version of that, but you see it's slightly desaturated. And that's why I took a little bit of the transparent oxide red, which is the more desaturated red orange, and added these to it. And this will give me that middle value, right? That looks pretty close. I'm getting pretty good at this. All right, so I'll put that there, and see, yes, if I add white to that, that's going to be it, which is what I do next. Now, when I mix a color with whatever I do here, usually, I will take the middle value and create a little pile of light value. And normally when I set these up, I put out enough paint to give me, or what I think is going to be what I will need, the amount of paint I need. That's often hard to tell because it's really not an exact science, but you learn with experience sort of how much you're going to need. Now that is a light value, but it's not the lightest light. I have white here. Always use white. Have white to get the lightest value. Sometimes I will make this light value lighter, and so depending on what I'm seeing here, and sometimes I'll make it about this value. This is what I would call about a half tone 3. Yeah, I guess it's about a half tone 3, maybe in between half tone 2 and half tone 3. And I'll show you. You see how close that is. Put it up so you can see how close that is to what we're seeing there in that orange of the boat. So that then sets up the full value range that I'll need for interpreting that boat. But I need something else too. I need the ability to desaturate some more. Now, if I go darker, of course, I will be desaturating some, but I need the ability to desaturate for a full desaturation, especially right down in here. If you'll notice, that is pretty neutral. So that's my second requirement. I'm going to move the color wheel up a little bit more here so you can see. My first requirement I always have for each color I put in this value line is the full value range. The second requirement I want to give me potential is the ability to both saturate and desaturate, to control saturation. So if I look across the color wheel at orange, I see blue, and my blue of choice is ultramarine blue. So I'll just reach down here. Now, here's the next part. It's very important. I consider this value line my lights and shadows. I consider from middle value to dark here the areas that are going to, in the value areas that are going to give me shadows. I consider the middle value to the light, or the lightest light even over here, those values that I'm going to be needing when I'm painting areas that are not in shadow. In other words, have light rays hitting them. So that means that these need to be aligned in value. Whatever I do now with the other colors need to be aligned in value. So I put down the blue here, right on, so that's the same value. I put it right there. Now, for the middle value of blue, I don't need to add another color. I can just add white. Now that blue, by the way, is the ultramarine blue. And I use the ultramarine blue because the other blues that we have lean more towards green. The phthalo blue leans more towards green. And I want it fully dark and as dark as it can be and fully saturated. So if you think about Prussian blue, it leans towards green. Ultramarine blue leans a little bit towards violet. This is an ideal blue for desaturating orange without turning it green like the others will do. So what I'll do here now, I want this value to be in the same value range as this value, so I'll just add enough white into that. Now this may be too much white because that blue is a very low tinting strength, meaning it takes more of the paint when mixed with white. You see that's lighter. It's lighter in value, so that won't work. I've got to add more blue. So I'll just pick up more blue from this, or I could pick more blue up from here. So I like to refer to my paint when I'm painting as to the hue I'm seeing, not the tube name. If I think in terms of the hue, then I can know better what to mix, what colors to choose when I need certain things to happen. I got that just a little too dark, but I do need it about this value range, so I'm put just a little bit more white back into it and get it this value range. So that's important that these value ranges be pretty close. That's pretty close. If I squint at it, yeah, that's pretty close. Right now, I'll take a little bit of that over here. I want this value range to be I want this to be in the same value range here. So I'll add enough white. I think I added too much white to that. Maybe not. Maybe I'll be able to get that. I'm just going to make a small a small pile here because I won't be painting for this quick tip, just showing you the method I use. Okay, if I squint at that seems to be, so I've got a lighter, light, middle, dark. Actually, the light here is a little closer to the middle. Usually what I try to do is say, okay, the distance, the visual distance between middle and dark here should be the same kind of, same degree of distance as the distance between the middle and the light here. This is a little bit closer in value, but I can always add white if I need it. And so I'll leave it at that. Now, I know I have the ability to use the oranges in whatever saturation I want them to be. And I have the ability to use the oranges in whatever value. I've got two things I can do now with manipulating those oranges. But I need something else. I need the ability to warm that orange. Now, to warm it means two things, really. If you raise the saturation, you're going to warm it. So I have right here these two on the palette that can raise that saturation. That will warm it. Also, if just to move the hue over towards yellow will warm it. For example, if I want that orange, if I see any areas of orange that are a little bit more yellow orange, then I would need to do that. So I have the ability right here to do that. Also, just be adding the yellow in will help do that, give it the warmer orange. All right, and I need the ability to cool it. Well, also when you desaturate, you're cooling because you're taking the warmth out of it. But blue is the coolest color we have on the color wheel. So I have, just in those two, I have that ability. In all four of these, I have potential here now for doing all four of these, to manipulate these to create that orange. So I'm going to do one more color to show you how this works. And it may be the only other color I'll need to do. And that is, I see also yellow-green. Now, most folks will just look at that and call it green. My head doesn't work that way. When I look at it, when I see green, I'll see that range of yellow-green to blue-green. And most of the greens I see here in this photograph seem to be yellow-green or leaning towards yellow-green. And so, but I see them very dark, and say very dark, and up to about middle value, a little bit of lighter here, which does, in fact, right here, which does, in fact, get a little cooler. But let me show you how we can do that now. So I'll choose yellow-green, and my yellow-green of choice is sap green. The only sap, years ago, Daniel Smith was the only sap green that did not fade. But then as time went on, somewhere along the way, Rembrandt developed a sap green that's very, very nice. You sap the green. Everything I do here, I want it to be as dark as that color will go, and I want it to be transparent so that I have the ability to keep the depth of dark. So I put the sap green right here. That particular sap green is one of the last tubes of the Daniel Smith sap green. And now, to do the middle value of the green, I look up here and see, do I see any yellow green? Now, I mean, see it going more towards yellow green. I really don't see it going very much towards yellow green. So what I'll do there for that middle value is I'll put some of the sap green, let's bring some more of that sap green in. I put some more sap green in there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of yellow to that, just to keep the yellow in the sap green, and then I'm going to bring it up to this value right here with white. The way I think about that, in some lighting conditions, and I see that's too light, I'm going to have to add more of the sap green to it. In some lighting conditions, or also because of the local color, we will see a yellow-green. As it gets lighter, it gets more yellow. And in some lighting situations, we see the yellow-green get a little bluer. It begins to change from yellow-green to blue-green in middle value and in light. So we always take that in consideration. But it's a good idea to have that yellow-green, add that yellow back in when you set up that middle value. Otherwise, it's going to go cool. It's going to turn blue-green with the with the white added into it without a little yellow. So now I'm just trying to bring this up now to gradually bring it up to the value of this. Okay, there it is right there. And let's see, look at that, pretty close, pretty close. Got the dark, and the dark range will be mixing these. And then let's see, the lightest lights, and add a little white, and I'll be able to get those, so then that will do it. So what I'll do here then is to set up just using this. Now I'm using this rather than this because this is the one that has the yellow in it. And sometimes, if you see that yellow, if you see that lightest yellow of yellow-green, if you see that here getting more yellow, even more yellow, well then this would need more yellow added into it. But I don't see that in this photo, so I don't need to do that. Now I've got that a little bit lighter, and I just add just more of this to it, because I just want to keep those pretty parallel, those values. On the light side, if it veers a little bit towards this way or towards this way, it doesn't bother me because I know I'm going to add white to adjust that. But these two are really important to keep very, very dark in this row and very, very in middle value in this row. And then we have a little bit more flexibility when we're setting up a value line palette for that. Now, I need the same thing, same abilities for this yellow-green as I have for the orange. I did not do that for the blue, not yet, because I haven't considered blue yet. So now watch what happens here. We've got yellow-green, so we need the ability to control the saturation of yellow-green. Well, there's a red in the red-orange that will control that saturation right here. Now you see we have the yellow-green here. Red-violet is the complement of yellow-green. So do we need red-violet on the palette? And as I look around, that's the thing I ask myself, do I need the red-violet on my palette? So what I would do in that case is I would bring a yellow-green over, I just put it right here. Usually I'll take that to a second palette. And I will see if this red-orange in that middle value range, will that desaturate that adequately? I overdid it, overshot. So let's try that again. Now see, I know all this stuff because I've studied it and I've studied the color. Once you learn, yeah, that does it, desaturate it nicely. And let's see, does that serve right here? Now that serves pretty well to do the desaturation, but I think maybe I'm going to play it safe. If you study the color wheel, if you know what color does to color, and I have video after video on the Academy website, I have a video on how to read the color wheel, how to read your tube colors. So once you get accustomed to knowing the tube colors according to where they are on the color wheel and according to how their value and their saturation, you can always refer to the color wheel to tell you what you're going to need when you're mixing color. That way you don't have to memorize a bunch of tube colors and know what one's going to do to the other. I am going to put the red-violet there. Now, did I put red? Yes, I did. Good for me. So I'll pick up some of this red-violet here, and that is the quinacridone violet. It's my red-violet of choice. People call that magenta. Magenta is the generic name for that. That too then can have its middle value. That's to desaturate yellow-green. That's red-violet, yellow-green. So that too can raise in value with just white. It is strong enough, the hue is strong enough, doesn't suffer a lot when we add white to it. Now, in this case, if you did have a experience with a red-violet that seemed to go less red when you add the white to it, you see how nice that is, then you would need to add just a tiny bit of red, and I would use alizarin crimson for that. A little tiny bit of red into this middle value range. All that stuff, there's no use my going in there. I don't want to make this a confusing quick tip. So then I need the light one, which I would put right here. Now, let me remind you again, I'm only putting just enough color to show you here. That's not the amount of color I normally would put if I were setting this up for a painting. So there's the red-violet, and I'll get that nice and mixed. I think I probably got that a little. Red-violet is a very high tinting strength, So I went a little bit aggressively there with the amount of red violet I picked up for that. Okay, that is going to be just a tiny bit, kind of overdid that. Well, I'm going to leave that there because this is as I said, we got more flexibility in the light side. All right, now we have the ability to desaturate the yellow green. We have the ability to warm it here with the yellow. Adding yellow to yellow green warms it. We have the ability to cool it with the blue here, so I don't need to do anything else for the yellow green. All right, so now we have the orange, yellow, green, and let's look at the blue. So look what you already have on the palette. Once you get past the second hue of any painting, any subject you're looking at, once you get past the second hue, if you've gone through all these potentials here, you most likely have all the colors you need. There are few cases where that's not true, very few. All right, so look, watch what happens here. There's the blue. So I'll need to desaturate the blue. I can do that with the orange here. I need to control the warmth of the blue. I can make it warmer with the green here. That's what it does on the color wheel. You see blue, as it gets warmer, it gets blue, green, then green, and so on. So I can add the green to it, yellow green to it. It's going to cool. It's going to get it. It's going to get it warmer. Let's see what else. So I need to build. You don't need to cool blue anymore because that's about as cool as you can go. So I've got everything I need right there, full value range, and all the potential I need for creating the blue. Now, what about this stuff right in here? All that dead straw that we see there. I said desaturated yellow. It could be a desaturated orange. So what I'd like to try first of all, and this I always do, what I try to do first of all is I will. And I usually do this on a second palette, but I won't confuse things. Yeah, I'll just do it right here. So what I'm going to do is fully desaturate that orange here by adding the blue to it. And I will see it. And then let's see, did I carry it too far? Yes, I did carry it a little bit too far. No, I didn't. No, I didn't. It's just about right. Now, can you see that? That's what I need right there. Just add a little bit of white to that. And so that ended up being desaturated orange. And I had a little bit too much white. Now see the white in there? And then, of course, I can get the darker version of it by desaturating it in any one of those. So I have the ability there I have the ability here that is a desaturated orange. And I have everything I need to control that for the value, to raise the saturation, to warm it with the yellow right here, and to cool it with blue right there. You see, with these four colors right here, and then I think the white here, I have the yellow here. Usually I'll have yellow to keep it up here, but I won't make a value line of it because I'm just using it to warm things up. That's all I need now for creating a painting of this scene. So that's it's wonderful because you can mix in between these. You mix in here to get the values in between this and this. Of course, I add white here, and you're going to get the light, very, very lighter values. Mix in between these, and you mix back and forth in this direction. So you see, if I'm going to need a mixture of any combination of these, I can just mix it back and forth. And I don't have to fool with adjusting value and searching for color because I have already built the potential here for what I need to do. So that's the way I set up the palette, and you can get more details about that at Quick Tip 115, as I said earlier. And that's the way I arrange the colors before I begin a painting, and now I'm ready to go. Be sure to view all of our quick tips. And while you're doing so, subscribe to the channel, click on the bell so you'll always get a notice when we produce a new quick tip, which is every week. And if you have a question, leave it in the comments section and we'll make a quick tip for you. Also, take a trip over to DianneMize.com where I have full-length lessons, downloads, DVDs, lots of other stuff there, some free stuff for you. And while you're there, you can subscribe to the newsletter, and that way you'll always be informed every time we do something new.